All right. Good afternoon or good evening. I believe you guys are doing fine. On this video, this is just hypothetical. I'm gonna assume as a campaign manager for OK Movement. All right. I'm gonna assume as a campaign manager for OK Movement. All right. And what as a campaign manager for OK Movement, because there's on the OK movement, there are certain, this is my own observations, okay? This is my own observations on P2B's strategy towards his elections. It's okay, but I wouldn't say it is too bad, but there are certain things that are missing in that campaign. You see, when you are campaigning as for an election, especially a presidential elections, you cannot have a universal one message for all. Okay, every community or every region has its own peculiar message that is tailored to them to gain their trust, to win their votes, and to be on your side. The message you tailor to the east is not going to be the same message you tailor to the north or to the south or to the west. Now, there is a commonality when campaigning that you can tailor that message as a universal. But most of the time, not all region has one message. Sometimes it is good. It's only in Africa that I see that you see somebody running for an elections, they don't have a campaign manager, they don't even have a campaign office. And that is why they say, if you want to run an election, make sure you have liquid capitals. You have finance. Because if you don't have finance to pay for your election staffs, they'll be able to seek for any elective office. It is important to have a campaign manager. Okay, there's a purpose why even in the Western world, every election, every candidate have their campaign manager. You have your staffs because your campaign manager there has a purpose in that office to scan the net. They have ears on the ground on every state or every region to know what is happening. They have staffs in every state or every region that relay information back to the office and say, look, in this region or in this place, these are the things they need. Then when your candidate is scheduled to go in that area to campaign, the campaign in that specific area is tailored to that particular region to gain their votes, to gain their trust. Like if you are going to the north to campaign, where he's having some reluctancy. For now, he's getting a headway with the help of Kwankwaso. Okay, but there's still more work to be done in the north. So the message to be tailored in the north must not be the same with the one in the east or any southern state or any western state. Okay, so it is important, okay, to have a campaign manager. And let me assume that I'm a campaign manager. Like I was just trying to piece off certain things. If you're a campaign manager, for instance, how are you going to advise these OK movements to put foot on the ground in certain regions, in certain places, to gain trust, to win some skeptical minds, and to win some votes? Okay, so if I were designing a campaign, okay, if I were designing a campaign strategy in this hypothetical scenario, I would focus on building trust through policy, okay? Through policy, relationships, and credible messengers. You need, I'm just assuming as a hypothetical campaign manager, Okay, that's what I say. If I were designing a campaign strategy for him, okay, I would focus on building trust through policies. Okay, relationships are critical, and credible messengers. You need these three things. They are very fundamental in building a strong, formidable elections. To build trust through policies. Your policies must be excellent. You have to build relationships and also credible messengers. The food messengers are very, very vital in any elections. Rather than trying to exploit ethnic or religious visions, campaigns that rely on misinformations, fear, or manipulation can deepen tensions and also undermine democratic process. So in terms of ethnic, religious divisions, OK movement or P2P has played it very, very excellently. I have said it several times. If you are from the East and you're voting for me because I'm from this particular area, I don't need your vote. So in terms of exploiting ethnic religious divisions, he has done very well in those areas. But there are certain other areas where he has to improve or spend more time to get it. So for a candidate like Peter Obi, all right, who may face skepticisms in part of northern Nigeria, all right, the strategy would have several pillars. The strategy I'm going to map out will have several pillars. And one is refrain from the election around, you have to refrain, you have to frame or reframe the election around economic survival. That is one. Okay. So I'm now marshalling out my strategy as a campaign manager for P2B specifically. This is the steps I'm going to take. Having seen the areas where he needs input, food messengers is one, the several pillars I'm going to put on the floor is one, reframe the election around economic survival. Okay. Second pillar is the campaign should shift the conversation from identity, okay, to everyday concerns. Okay. The campaign should shift the conversation from identity to everyday concerns. Okay. Now, the central message would be, the central message in this area would be, this election is not about North versus the South, Christian versus the Muslims, or Hausas versus the Igbos. Okay, it is about whether every Nigerian family can afford food. Okay, educate their children and live in security. Okay, now northern Nigeria has some of the country's highest poverty, okay, and unemployment rates. The campaign should consistently present policies that directly address these challenges, including, let me repeat it again, it's very, very important because the North, the core North is where he has to spend much time. As we go into my presentations, you see my recommendations and other things I suggest. Northern Nigeria has some of the country's highest poverty and unemployment rates. So the campaign should, okay, consistently present policies that directly addresses these challenges, which include large-scale irrigation and agricultural investments, support for farmers through subsidized input and access to credit. Okay, now expansion of livestock and ranching infrastructure where appropriate. Okay, development of agro-processing industries to create local jobs. Road and rail infrastructure connecting farming communities to markets. Program for youth employment and vocational training. Okay, so every speech in the North should begin with these priorities before discussing national politics. So you see, that's what I'm trying to, in the beginning, I say As a campaign manager, as a presidential candidate, your message must not be the same to every region in Nigeria. Your message should be specifically tailored to a particular region. And I'm focusing my attention now to the north, to the core north, where he's making some headways, but there is more work to be done. So when he goes to the north, every speech in the north should begin with these priorities before discussing national politics. Okay? Now, the second pillar is building a northern coalition. Remember, I talk about pillars. Okay? The second pillar, my first pillar, okay? I don't know those that are following me. My first pillar was the first pillar is refrain. You have to reframe the election around economic survival. Do not be distracted. Change your strategy, reframe it around economic survival. That is number one pillar. Then we go to the second pillar. Okay. Now the second pillar is what? What is the second pillar? The second pillar is build a northern coalition. And this is where I find him struggling, even with the help of Kwankwaso. Kwankwaso is doing some tremendous work in the north, but there is more work to be done. The coalition is not completed yet. Okay? Build a northern coalition. Okay? A southern candidate cannot effectively campaign in the north alone. This is what is lacking with Peter Obi. I want to see Peter Obi in the north with Kwankwaso crossing the north, every corner of the north. No southern candidate can campaign in the north alone. You need a northern coalition. As I said, Kwankwaso is doing some heavy lifting, but it needs more work, more hands on the table. The campaign should recruit respected northern figures, including traditional rulers, Islamic scholars, business leaders, farmers association, youth organization, women's group, former military officers with broad credibility, retired civil servants. These individuals should become trusted local voices explaining why they support the candidate of Peter Obi, OK movement. All right. I'm now acting as a campaign manager. If I were his campaign manager, this is how I'm going to tailor my messages to him. I'll sit him down every day before he goes out. This is what I want you to do in this particular area. If you're heading to this state, this is my message tailored to that particular area. Okay? These individuals I just listed should become trusted local voices explaining why they support the candidate of OK movement, specifically Peter Obi. People often trust familiar community leaders more than visiting politicians. That is true. People often trust familiar community leaders more than visiting politicians. Now let's go to number 3, my third pillars. My third pillar is address the Muslim deportation allegation directly. Peter Obi have not done a good job in this area. This ID card issue during his governorship candidate and deportation, Obi has not done serious work to address this allegation head on. If you go to the net, most of the Hausa community net, there is a lot of under campaign going on the net than what you see physically out there. Peter Obi have to go to the north, spend a month crossing, having some town hall meetings, okay, answering questions in all radio stations in Hausa and English in televisions to address these deportation allegation and ID card issue. Because that is the area from my own investigation on the net. The Biafra something is not working, okay? But where they are gaining some tractions that he have to address head on is this Muslim deportation and ID card issues when he was a governor in Anambra State in the past. So ignoring persistent allegations can allow them to spread. And that is what is happening over the net, in the net. You can't hear it outside in the street, but if you go in the net, especially in the core note, their website, this is what is going on there. They are getting heavy traction in that area. If you keep ignoring persistent allegations, that persistent allegation can allow them to spread. Now, the question you're going to say, we have Kwankwaso. Kwankwaso cannot. They want to hear from the candidate. They will be more persuaded when P2B spend much time in the north answering the questions by himself than Kwankwaso. They want to see him to come in there and answer those questions. So he has to address the Muslim deportation and ID card allegations, because ignoring those persistent allegations can allow them to spread. And that is what is happening over the net. Now, the campaign should respond calmly with verifiable facts. Not only addressing that Muslim deportation ID card just verbally. You have to respond calmly with verifiable facts. For example, when you were a governor in the north, you say you built a mosque in the north. There are some living witnesses, Muslims that were in the north, that saw what he did. Witnessed everything. You have to go with them side by side, sitting by side. Let them be your verifiable witnesses. Human face that can counter these allegations. For example, explain what actually occurred if official records are available. Secondly, distinguish any actions, involving undocumented individuals from claims about targeting Muslims. You have to distinguish any actions involving undocumented individuals from claims about targeting Muslims. Now, the third one is emphasize the candidate's record of working with people of all faiths. Each of you have to demonstrate with verifiable facts. You have to reemphasize the candidate's record of working with people with all faiths. Now, encourage journalists, civil society organizations to review the evidence. Not only placing the verifiable facts, discussing them, invite journalists, civil society to review the evidence or the fact that you presented. The tone when addressing this issue, the tone should avoid attacking those who repeat the claim. When you're addressing these concerns in the north, avoid attacking those who repeat the claim. Instead, we understand why people have questions. Here are the facts. Be calm and be subjective. Start by your conversation to say, we understand your fears. We understand why people have questions. Here are the facts. Transparency tends to be more persuasive than confrontation. Transparency tends to be more persuasive than confrontations. And then my fourth pillar, after addressing those claims of deportation of Muslims and ID card issue, the fourth pillar is make national unity a core theme. Make national unity a core theme of your campaign, apart from what? Economic survival. The candidate should consistently demonstrate inclusiveness. Peter have demonstrated that countless times, but he has to continue to demonstrate inclusiveness. For example, visit mosques respectfully. Visit mosques respectfully during your campaign, tours where appropriate. During your campaign, do not be seen visiting only churches. Make sure you visit also the mosques during your campaign tours where appropriate. The Muslim scholars, you need them on your side. If you don't like to spend money on Muslim scholars, Obi, I'm encouraging you to spend money to lure those your Muslim scholars on your side. They are the fruit messenger that can spread your word and convince some skeptical hearts, especially youth in the north. All right. Now, meet with emirs and traditional councils. Meet with emirs and traditional councils. Visit Christian communities as well. Okay? Celebrate Nigerian diversity rather than emphasizing regional identity. Obi has placed this area effectively and consistently excellent. Celebrate Nigerian diversity rather than emphasizing regional identity. Now, the campaign slogan could reinforce shared national identity. All right. Now, what is my fifth pillar? What is my fifth pillar? Okay. As I'm discussing my campaign strategy, if I were his campaign manager. So we're on the fifth pillar, is release a northern development agenda. We should go to the north, call north, and make a speech. Make a speech where all the who in the north are present, the supporters are present, and make a statement by releasing a northern development agenda. This, if well delivered, can garner you vote. If well delivered, can convince a lot of core northerners, persuade them on your side by delivering the northern development agenda. Rather than a generic manifesto. That's why I said every region message must be tailored differently to fit that particular region. When you go to the south side, their areas of concern must be addressed. You don't go there and campaign generally without addressing their local concern. That's why this politics is local. So rather than have a generic manifesto, the party can have a general manifesto, but as an individual, as a candidate, presidential candidate, okay, you must not have a generic manifesto that fits every region. Okay, publish a dedicated plan addressing priorities in northern Nigeria, such as security, and under security, strengthen policy. What are you going to do in terms of security? They're going to ask you, okay, you said security. When you're addressing the concerns of the North, security is one of their concerns. They're going to get a question, not just mentioning security. What will you do? What will you do? Because security is one word. They want to open up that security and see the content of that security. What will you do? What do you mean by security? Strengthening policing. You got to strengthen policing. Like this state police or the local vigilantes. But how do you strengthen policing is one core fact, evidence. Improve intelligence gathering. Support community-based security initiatives within the law. Support community-based security initiative within the law. Okay? Better equip security agencies. Invest in rehabilitation and recovery programs for conflict-affected communities. Okay? So that is security on that aspect. Then in terms of, you come to the next, because this security fall under your northern agenda. What is the second agenda is agriculture. Because of the vast land in the north, agriculture. All right? The north is Nigeria agricultural heartland. So your comment should include, okay, your comment as a presidential candidate should include modern irrigation systems, mechanized farming supports, fertilizer access, grain storage facilities, agricultural insurance, export promotions, okay, to mention a few, because you are now marshalling out your northern agenda for the first 4 years of your presidency. So then you go to the third northern agenda, education. Education is vital because in the north, there's a level of low education in the north and poverty. So on education, you're going to focus your message on Almajiri education reform in partnership with local communities. You have to focus your agenda on Almajiri education reform in partnership with what? Local communities. Teacher training, more schools, girls' education, this is critical. Girls' education, technical and vocational educations, these are some of the things you have to marshal out in your northern agenda. Then we'll go to the next one, healthcare. Healthcare also is very important in your northern agenda. And what are you going to promise on your healthcare to the north? Is more primary healthcare centers, okay? Maternal healthcare, there's high prevalence of maternal healthcare that in the north, almost in the Nigeria also. But how will you develop efficiency in maternal healthcare in the north? Mobile clinics, rural doctors incentives, okay? That falls under healthcare. Now, after all those things, you can choose a broadly accepted running mate, which you have done. You must choose a broadly acceptable running mate, which is you have Kwankwaso as one of the in the north as a capable hand and acceptable in the north that has full soldiers, well-grounded as a running mate. In Nigerian politics, vice presidential selection can influence perceptions of balance, which you have done that in Christian versus Muslims. It's not Christian or Muslim, but you've balanced the equation by being a Christian from the east and not a Muslim from the north. So a running mate who commands broad respect across regions and communities could help reassure voters, okay? Though any choice should prioritize competence and integrity rather than identity alone. In that area, you have a higher score because you have a very good running mate. So campaign in local languages also is very important. That's why I say you have to go to the north, spend at least 2 weeks to about 4 weeks in the north. Campaigning in local languages is vital. You don't understand Hausa, okay? So that is why you have to, one more reason why you have to spend more time in the north, okay, to win the heart and souls of the north. Okay, so campaigning in local languages are very, very vital. Okay, so deliver campaign materials in Hausa. All right, that's why you have to spend that money. Even if you don't like giving people money, but there are certain areas you have to spend the money by, delivering your campaign materials in Hausa. And that's why I say you have to visit radio station, television station that are Hausa, and sit down there and answer some questions, and then marshal out your agendas to the north. Okay. Now, also, while you are delivering your campaign materials in Hausa, Fulfude, where appropriate. Fulfude is the Fulanese, where appropriate. Kanuri, where appropriate. Okay. Voters often respond more positively when addressed in their preferred language. Like if you come to the Western world, okay, like in North America here, America, Canada, there's a lot of Spanish in America. Here we have in Canada have French and some Asian communities, very large Asian community here. During campaigns, parties spend money to deliver their campaign materials in the local language, the Indian community. I'm talking about in the Western world, Canada, America here. If the white people here understand that campaign is local, and then they are spending millions to print their materials in the local languages to win their vote, then that should tell you that, why don't you do it in the north? If I were P2B, I would spend my money here. If I were P2B, okay, as a project candidate, I would spend my millions in printing my campaign materials in Hausa, Fulfulde, Kanuri. This is going to win you votes and deliver them in the rural areas, every nook and cranny of the North. Voters will often respond more positively when they see their campaign materials in their local languages. As you say, you are the new kid on the block, there are things you have to change. Maybe since 1999, Nigeria has been democratic, being in democracy. Maybe no any candidate have ever thought of printing materials in their local languages. So why don't you try this new area to spend your millions? Okay, you know what? For the North, I'm going to spend about 20 million, 100 million for the North in printing my campaign materials in these three languages, Hausa, Fulfulde, and Kanuri, and then dump it in the North. This is what voters respond possibly when addressed in their preferred languages. Okay? And then my 8th pillar is you have to spend significant time in the North. This is where Peter is lacking. I noticed something before, during the time of their coalition with ADC and other things. After the 2023 elections, I see Peter visiting North most of the time, investing there, spending money in education, donating money. I see him almost in every nook and cranny in the North. But all of a sudden, since they started their party system, trying to choose candidates, I haven't seen him much in the North. It's like he withdraw and allow Kwankwaso to do the work. Peter Obi is supposed to be in the North. You cannot just leave Kwankwaso to do the work. North is where you are having most major restrictions. There's pushback in the North, even though you are making headway. If I were in your shoe, instead of me flying over every week, I'm in overseas attending a birthday party or a wedding, I will spend most of my time in the North, because that is where you have to spend in your time doing town hall meetings. Seeing you around with your vice presidential candidate, delivering materials in their local languages, going from one TV station, radio station, answering questions. Bring out 1 month, spend your time in the North. You have to say, forget about South. North is where you have to spend your resources more. Visibility have to be in the North. One, you don't understand Hausa, you don't speak Hausa. If you understand and speak Hausa, that should have alleviated 50% of your problem. But for the fact you don't speak Hausa, you don't understand Hausa, that compounded the issue. Had it been you know how to speak Hausa, you understand Hausa, that should have eliminated 50% of your concerns in the North, because you can go to the North and verbalize with them on the North. And being North, I know North more very well because I was born in the North. And that is why I'm just suggesting, if you can spend your resources printing your campaign materials in these three languages, Fulfulde, Hausa, and Kanuri, dump it in the North, and you are going to see what is going to happen. Okay, so my 8th pillar is, if I were your campaign manager, I will make sure, because you are paying me as your campaign manager, I'm all over the North feeding me information in the office. Because once you have a campaign manager, you have election staff. Your elections have to be every nook and cranny of the state. They gather information out there, and then they send it back to the office. As a campaign manager, you sit down and analyze where you send your candidate every day. If you are a campaign manager, you have your schedules every day for him. He's going to be in this state, in this community. This is the message for that community. This is the person he's going to see. And then you move to the next state or to the next community with the information you have tailored to that specific area. So spend significant time in the North is my number 8 pillar. Rather than making brief visits, you go and come back. The candidate should spend extended period engaging with communities across the northern states. And this includes, town hall meetings. I want to see my candidate having town hall meetings in every nook and cranny of the northern states, answering questions face to face with an interpreter. visiting radio stations and television stations, answering questions. Okay, meeting with farmers. If you see in the America, when America is having the elections, or in Canada, you see president candidate visiting farmers, taking photo picture. That visiting, shaking hand means a lot to them. When they see you coming, there is something they feel. Oh, a presidential candidate coming to my local community, coming to my home to have a cup of tea with me, shaking hands means a lot to them. That changes heart. That alone changes heart. Ghana, you vote to see you visiting farmers, taking breakfast with them, answering questions, and if you didn't know their concern, shaking hands with them. That alone, Ghana, you vote. Visit to universities. I know, as I said, some universities, they've blocked you from visiting some universities, but try as much as you can. Visit some universities, market stores, listening session with women and youths, engagement with local medias, and the listening can also be as important as speaking. Sometimes you go to a meeting, just you are there to listen, no comment. Let your secretary take notes. Just being attentive, listening to them makes an impact to the voters while your secretary is taking notes. So listening can be as important as speaking. And my number 9 pillar is demonstrate religious respect. You demonstrate religious respect. The campaign should emphasize constitutionally protections for freedom of worship, religion, and equal treatment of all Nigerians. This includes respecting Islamic institutions, Christian institutions, and traditional beliefs without suggesting favoritism towards any group. All right. My number 10 pillar is anti-corruption frame around service delivery. Anti-corruption, you frame it, I will frame it around service delivery. Rather than focusing solely on punishing corruption, explain how reducing corruption leads to tangible improvements. I know you've been doing some works on that area. So, how will you reduce corruption that will lead to tangible improvement is by better roads. Better roads is going to create more jobs. Better schools is going to create more educated people. Better hospitals, okay? Better hospitals is going to create more healthy nation. A sick nation cannot develop, cannot progress. But when you have healthy citizenship, makes countries to develop, it becomes healthy. So better hospitals will increase or reduce mortality rate in that nation. It means people are going to be living longer and the country is going to be moving forward. Reliable electricity is so important to make sure you have constant electricity so that industries can manufacture, produce, and provide services. Without constant, reliable electricity, industries cannot function in Nigeria, and that's why you see that there's no manufacturing companies in Nigeria. So as you are preaching less consumption, more production. That can be correct and effective if you make sure there is reliable electricity in Nigeria to make sure you accomplish that core statement. Less importation, more production. Jobs. Okay. Now, this connects governance reforms to daily lives. Okay. Now, what is my 11th pillar? My 11th pillar is counter misinformation responsibly. As a presidential candidate, or if you're my candidate, I'm the campaign manager, on a daily basis, we are going to counter misinformation. How do we responsibly counter misinformation without antagonizing the citizens or the voters to make it look bad? So instead of responding emotionally to rumors, what do? Establish a rapid response fact-checking team that. One thing again, that this is the area I noticed Peter or the campaign or the party itself is lacking. Not only NDC, all the parties in Nigeria are lacking in this area. Okay, like I'm going to give you guys an example. You see, NDC will have 20 of 5, 6 different media persons. How it is done? If P2B is my candidate and I'm the campaign manager, we are going to have 3 media representatives. These media representatives cannot go to any media and grant any interview without my approval. What they do, how they do it in North America here, these media representatives every day have to report to the office, or they have what they call conference over the phone, and then get an insight what to say to the media, or what are they not supposed to say. So, for instance, there's a bad news that is going to come out next week. The campaign office have known the bad news. If you're a campaign manager, you know how to get intelligent out there. So if there's a bad news that is going to affect the candidates coming out next year, you already know when they're going to push it out from the other party. You as a campaign manager have to strategize how to counter that bad news by having a conference with your media representative, so that each 3 of them, when they go to the radio stations or television stations, all of them are going to be in line with the same message. Not giving different message in one TV station, another person is giving different message. They have to deliver the same line of response. That's how it is. Because what I noticed is that you see one media person goes and says something else, another person goes and says, no. A media, if you're a candidate, you must have 3. One for the candidates, one for the vice president, and one for the party. The media for the candidates cannot go to any media station and grant interview without first talking to the campaign manager and the candidates, and they feed them on what to respond if this question arises, or how to counter some rumors, or how to dispel some rumors. There's going to be uniformity in all the 3 media persons. One rule as a candidate or as a party: if you appoint a media specialist, they cannot go to any media station and grant it without first of all getting verification and permission from the campaign manager and the candidates. And there's going to be a talking point every day being sent to their phone. This is what you are going to say when you go to this radio station, TV station. Stick by this message. Do not add or subtract. There's going to be uniformity between all the 3 media representatives. So when there's misinformation, okay, instead of responding emotionally to rumors, what they're going to do, establish a rapid response for fact-checking team that monitors misinformation. You must have a fact-checking team that stays in the office, scanning all the internet. Their work is to come to the office all the time, 24 hours round the clock, both at home, both in the office, to monitor misinformation flying on the internet and then bring it to the attention to the campaign manager to devise a response. Now, and then you have to respond promptly with evidence. So once you monitor those misinformation, you got them out, you have to plan your response with evidence immediately. Use trusted local voices. Share official document where possible. Encourage respectful dialogue rather than personal attacks. Now, one thing again that is missing in Nigerian politics that I notice, if you go to North America, Canada, US, every party has their media stations. There's a reason why NDC should have their own media stations. If you go to your own media station or have some bloggers that you pay that push out your messages in a positive way, you have to pay them. Their job is to make sure that your party is presented to the public in a positive vibes. Anybody that comes, anywhere they see any misinformation in other stations, they counter it. You have to pay them. You have to pay the bloggers. Like if you go to America, there are some media bloggers that are Republican or Democrats. They pay them. Candidates go to their media, to go to their studio to grant interviews. Because when you go to your own media stations, they will give you a favorable question, positive question to answer. They're not going to ask you something that's negative. So you as a party must have your own NDC blogger that are NDC bloggers. They belong to the party, or you have your own media station. So sometimes you go to your own media station to push out a positive message to paint you good. Because if you go to this general public media, like Arise or Channel TV or other media station, they are there to be neutral. Sometimes they're going to push you beyond the boundaries and take you unaware. So they are, before you go to those stations, they are strategic. Before visiting those stations, they are strategic. Sometimes you discuss the questions ahead of time and say, these are the questions I don't want to answer your stations. But when you have your own bloggers or your own media station, you know that any candidate that goes to that station all the time will be given a favorable question to paint your party good. They have it all over here in North America. You have some bloggers that are Republican, Democrat. If you go to a blogger that's Republican, all he does is that he makes sure the Republican Party is painted positive. He talks about the goods about the Republican parties. Candidates go in there to answer questions and advertise, but you have to pay them. So this is how you can, as a party, to make sure you counter those misinformations. These are the things that is lacking. I don't see any, NDC doesn't have NDC bloggers that they pay. I don't see NDC having their own media stations. You're supposed to have them. They are part of elections. They have it in North America here. They have it in Canada. They have it in US. They have it in Canada here. You see some bloggers that are for a particular party, liberal or Republican. Liberal Party bloggers or the other party in Canada, we have the liberal, and the other one we have the what do you call them? I've forgotten the other party. There are two parties here, the conservatives. We have the Liberal Party and the conservative in Canada. We have the conservative radio stations. We have the conservative bloggers. Party pay them. Their job is to make sure they paint the party positive ways, counter misinformations. Candidates go to those stations, go to those bloggers to grant an interview, discuss their manifesto. Because when you're your own media station, they're going to give you a good, nice questions to paint your party good and your candidacy good. If you are a conservative and go to a liberal blogger party, they are not there. They are not there to have mercy on you. They are going to throw you a kind of hard question to throw you unbalanced, to paint you bad. But you have to pay them. In America, we have Republicans, bloggers or media stations. We have the Democrat media or bloggers or radio stations. Candidates do visit them, grant interviews, and they are there to dispel information. They are there also to be your intelligence. If there's any bad news they hear, they push it out to you. They have access to your campaign manager. Hey, this is what is coming out on the blog. Treat it. You have to send that message. You have to do all those things. So credibility is threatened by consistency and transparency when you're addressing misinformations. Okay, so let's go to 12. Deliver symbolic gestures of inclusion. I'm discussing my pillars. Deliver symbolic gestures of inclusions. So symbolic actions can reinforce campaign messages when paired with substantive policies. For examples, holding campaign launches in northern cities, okay, including northern professionals in your policy teams, highlighting successful Nigerians from all regions in campaign materials, publicly recognizing contribution from northern communities. These gestures should complement, not replace, okay, concrete policy commitments. All right. So overall strategic narrative, this is what it's supposed to do. So the campaign overarching message could be Nigeria's greatest challenges is poverty, insecurity, unemployment, and also corruptions. Do not distinguish between North and South, Muslim and Christians, Our commitment is to govern for every Nigerians, invest in every region, and also uphold the constitutional right and dignity of all citizens. Okay, so this kind of strategy does not assume that any region votes as a single bloc. Instead, it seeks to earn support through consistent engagements, all right, credible policies, respectful communications, and also evidence-based responses to concerns. The North has concerns of Peter Obi during that question of ID card and being also from the East. Okay, such as an approach is more likely to build durable trust than one centered on identity or countering identity policy with more identity politics. Okay, so this is my own contribution, or this is my own strategy. I say it's hypothetical. If I'm the campaign manager, this is how I'm going to make sure that he, address those concerns in the North, and also make sure he spend more time in the North. So, friends, I'm going to stop here. I know the video is long, so let me know what you guys think in the comment sections. Okay, I'd like to read from you guys, and also if this is your first time coming across my page, please do not forget to subscribe to my page. If this is your first time to come to my page, do not forget to subscribe. Okay, so let me hear from you guys what you guys think about what I just discussed. All right, I want to hear from you guys what I just discussed in the comment sections. Okay, so if this is your first time coming across my page, like and subscribe, and then also drop your comments. If my strategy as a campaign manager works, or if there's any addition, if there's anything that I missed, let me know. Okay, so I would like to read from you guys. Keep once more, thank you guys, and then hopefully I'm going to see you guys in another video. All right, so stay blessed, and then bye bye.